So here's where I want to start hour 2, because Ken Rosenthal, who is like persona non grata, way more than Ivan, way more than the Dodger trolls.
This is one of those, that meme? It was like the worst person in the world makes a
good point. I love that.
This is how I feel about what we're about to hear from Ken Rosenthal.
Exactly. So Ken Rosenthal is universally hated in San Diego. Why? Because he's an idiot. There's two examples. He said Max Scherzer was coming here, and he was dead wrong. So he looked like a complete fool, and people never let him live it down. Then he did this like about face on Machado, where it's like, everything I ever said about Machado, I'm dead wrong, he's the greatest leader ever. And 12 hours later, it's like, I'm wrong again. I hate him.
Sling.
He's the worst guy ever. He threw a ball at Dave Roberts 1 mile per hour. How could he dare do it? But the worst baseball writer on earth makes a decent point about Jackson Merrill. Now, this was in Jim's 2-minute drill, but maybe you missed it. So let's hear from Ken Rosenthal and react.
In the National League, that was the one that really surprised me, because as historic a campaign as Skenes had, as brilliant as he was, and no one can deny what he did, Jackson Merrill, from day one with the Padres, was in his own way equally brilliant. And he did some historic things too, not at the same level maybe as Skenes. So I thought, generally speaking, a voter, at least I'm speaking for myself here, prefers the position player to the pitcher in a circumstance like this. And we can argue, well, should they be grouped together? I don't mind them being grouped together. It's a great discussion. But I was surprised Skenes won a little bit. I thought Merrill was going to take this thing, and both were great candidates. Actually, Jackson Merrill was a great candidate, and in any other year, he might have been the winner. So congratulations to all of them, really. But both outcomes sort of surprised me, I must say.
Yeah, 2 pitchers win it. American League, Gill from the Yankees and Skenes from the Pirates here in the National League. I mean, I like I said, the worst person in the world makes a good point. I agree with Ken Rosenthal,
right?
But he's also, in my opinion, if there's anybody else saying that, I'd be like, this person is speaking with a logical tone.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That he is not using his, Paul Skenes' girlfriend and the media hype and him being the number 1 overall draft pick by the Pirates as reasons why they voted or he should have won the award.
Mm-hmm.
They both, at the end of the day, had great seasons. But like Ken said there, and like Dan Szymborski told us earlier on the show in the 2:00 hour, Paul Skenes had 23 games that he played in this year. Jackson Merrill played in 156.
That's not a good argument to me. That's not enough of an argument to me, because even if he pitched in 30 games, it's nowhere near 156. They play different positions. That's just the fact of the matter. They play different positions. It's a tough thing to compare. It's hard to compare me and you to a talk radio news format. Like, it's hard to say best talk show if one show talks politics and one show talks sports. That's hard to do. It's hard to compare a national sports radio show to a local sports radio show, but they're asked to do it is the point.
Then for you, if you voted, what would have been your deciding factor?
My deciding factor
to be as unbiased as possible.
And here's the thing. Here's I've said it like you. Here's my deciding factors. He was up all year. Skenes wasn't. That's not Skenes' fault, but it's a fact of the matter. Just like it's a fact, pitchers don't play 156 games.
But
he was up all year.
I know that, and that plays into him only pitching 23 games.
True, but even if he pitched 30,
but that means he up all year.
I agree. So he was up all year is number 1, and number 2, the impact he had on a winning team.
Yes.
The impact he had on a winning team. And the other thing I would say that has not been discussed a lot, but should be, and I think this is where the Padres maybe faltered a bit. It's like in a Heisman campaign. You got to control the narrative. Where was the narrative nationally that this guy's Mr. Clutch? That Jackson Merrill came through in the clutch time and time again. 7th inning or later, 8th inning or later, down or tied, go ahead or tying moments. He had a handful of them. And I don't recall Paul Skenes having that like, oh man, that Cardinals start, he brought him back from the... No, starting pitchers don't really do that. Jackson Merrill was really good and he was really clutch. I feel like nationally, that wasn't as relevant as it was locally.
Yep, I agree. I would have done the same thing as trying to be as unbiased as possible.
Clutch,
There was not one pitch that Paul Skenes threw this year that mattered at all.
for they were okay for half the year. They were in the wild card
for
conversation.
his team.
Yeah.
Not one pitch mattered as much as what Jackson Merrill did this year.
Yes.
He
had some moments that actually
teams.
mattered.
Jackson Merrill in August turned into Mr. Clutch.
Yes.
And August in the dog days kind of either make or break your seasons. And that was a time where, you were dealing with injuries to Luis Ariz not playing as well. Fernando Tatis Jr. wasn't in the lineup. Xander Bogaerts was not playing well. And what Jackson Merrill did this season had an infinitely more impactful, was infinitely more impactful to his team than anything Paul Skenes did for the Pirates.
Yeah, but baseball has already said that they don't care about teams being successful. Otherwise, Mike Trout won't have any of his MVPs that he's had, because every year he won MVP was on a crappy Angels team.
It's true. It's
true.
not. It's
I don't
not.
like it.
It's not part of the criteria. It truly is not part of the criteria.
But then
the success of your team.
But also, you look at. I don't have it in front of me. Go back and see and look at all the MVPs that Mike Trout won.
Yeah.
Was there any MVPs that he won? And I could be wrong. That were like 51-49 with another player.
No, because he had 1,200 OPS years.
This was...
So you're saying he was a runaway despite his team's lack of success.
Yeah. Now, you could say, Paul Skenes was a runaway here because he got 23 or 30 place votes. But I think there were a majority of the 23, maybe half, that this was a very difficult decision for. This wasn't a slam dunk runaway. Guys like Barry Bloom, who... I mean, I say a lot of things about Barry Bloom, but guys like him, runaway Paul Skenes, okay. But I bet you there were a lot of voters that didn't think that, and that it was a tough decision for them.
Yeah, I mean, your point's valid on Trout. I mean, Trout's had just some unbelievable years that he's probably tough to deny. Some of the years that he did win.
Like, give me the second person. Like, look at one of his MVP years.
Yeah, like his first one in 2014. Victor Martinez finished second. He actually had a higher OPS. I don't know how good the Angels were the year he won it in 2014. They had that one good year. I don't know what it was. He had another year where he finished first and Mookie Betts finished second, but he was far and away better than Betts that year. And then the other one he won, which was as recently as 2019, he had an 1,100 OPS. Now, Alex Bregman had a 1,000 OPS, but he was the best player. That's the thing. I mean, do they talk in the NFL? Can you win MVP going 6-11? No, right?
No,
you
chance,
can't win. You could have 50 touchdown passes, but you went 6-11. It's different in baseball for whatever reason, and it's become much more different in baseball. And the thing with Rookie of the Year, nobody's ever like, hey, Santiago in 87 because the Padres are really good. I mean, there's countless examples of whatever. It's just a great individual season for a rookie. It's not really about a team success.
And truthfully, like you just said there, looking up all of Mike Trout's words, you can't say the record for any of those seasons for the Angels off the top of your head.
I have no idea.
Like, oh man, remember that 97 win Angels win team and Mike Trout won the MVP? Unless you're an Angels fan, but they never had a 97 win team is my point.
And they had some awful and he won one, I think, with 70 wins.
Like, what was the Padres record in 87 when Benito won the...
We should look it up. But let's look it up. But Trout, okay, so 2014, they go 98-64. Awesome. Great year, great team. You know what I mean? So it works. But then the other MVPs that he won, which now I've lost track of. He won one in 16 and he won one in 19. So in 16, the Angels go 74-88. I mean, that's awful.
Yep.
And then in 19, they go 72-90. I mean, irrelevant all year. No chance of qualifying for the postseason all year. And he won two of them with teams 15 games under 500 or more.
Do you see how many first place votes there? Like the breakdown of the
No,
voting?
I don't.
You sure? If you go to
I'm sure I could.
No, click on the MVP and it shows you, I think, right?
Okay, 2014, he won every first place vote.
Okay.
Then he won 19. So the year they went 74-88.
19 of 30?
Correct.
Okay, so that's pretty close.
Yeah. And then he won in 2019 17.
Okay, so that's really
Bregman
close.
13.
That's really close, actually.
Yep, that's really
and
close.
I thought it was going to be more like 17-13 in the voting here for Rookie of the Year between Skenes and Merrill.
At the end of the day, dude, also, as we overthink the room here.
Yes, exactly.
It's just 30 dudes. It's Barry Bloom.
I know it's freaking Barry Bloom. Like, give me a break.
They spent 2 minutes on it.
This
Some
guy-
people
like-
spend 3 hours on it.
Yeah.
Like maybe Dan Zaborski. Other guy spends 97, maybe not.
Barry Bloom is deciding this.
Like how
Think
long
about
does
that.
think about it. Have you ever gone into like a voting booth? Sometimes you vote in 2 seconds. I'm sure other people think you fill out like a hanging Chad.
Yeah.
Like it takes
Like,
2
I'll do this
seconds.
person. Yeah.
You just punch it in.
Yeah.
That's it.
We're getting mad
We're
because
overthinking
guys
it.
like freaking
Barry Bloom took 2 seconds to determine who won it.
Well, you know what